Did you know that a simple numerical code, like 1488's, can carry a message of hate with profound implications for modern society? To many, these numbers may seem random or meaningless, but to white supremacist groups, they symbolize a dangerous and disturbing ideology. The code 1488 is widely used by extremists to convey racist and neo-Nazi messages discreetly, avoiding immediate scrutiny. But how can something as seemingly innocent as numbers be turned into a symbol of hate? Where does this code come from? And most importantly, how does it continue to be used to perpetuate ideologies of discrimination in the 21st century? These are the questions we will explore today. Why talk about the code 1488? The code 1488 is not just a set of numbers. It represents a belief system that fuels racism, intolerance, and violence. Understanding its meaning and how it is used is essential to combating misinformation and hate. This video is not just a historical analysis, but a call to action to reflect and confront the normalization of extremist symbols in society. What will you learn in this video? The origin and meaning behind the code 1488. How it was popularized by extremist and neo-Nazi groups. The social and cultural impact of its spread. How organizations and governments are confronting the spread of this code. Reflections on the importance of educating and raising awareness to prevent symbols of hate from infiltrating our daily lives. Did you know that the numbered 14 represents a phrase written by David Lane, a white supremacist leader? This phrase, made up of 14 words, is used as a mantra by extremists. And then 88? It is a code that symbolizes Heil Hitler, as the letter H is the octave of the alphabet. These numbers seem harmless, but they carry meanings that directly affect lives around the world. In this video, we won't just crack the 1488's code, we'll explore how seemingly simple symbols can become powerful tools of ideological manipulation. Stay until the end to understand the impact of this message and what we can do to combat it. Origin and history of the code 1488. The code 1488 is more than a set of numbers. It carries a racist and neo-Nazi message that emerged within a specific historical context. To fully understand its impact, it is crucial to explore its origins, an ideology behind its creation, and how it has evolved over time. The origin of the number 14. The numbered 14 refers to the 14 words written by David Lane, one of the founders of the white supremacist terrorist organization called the Order. The words are, "We must guarantee the existence of our people and a future for white children." This phrase encapsulates the core ideology of Lane and many other white supremacists. The belief that the white race is under threat and needs to be preserved at any cost. Lane wrote these words in the 1980s, during a time when white supremacist movements were gaining momentum in the United States. David Lane was sentenced to 190 years in prison for his role in violent crimes, including the murder of Alan Berg, a Jewish radio host who frequently criticized far-right groups. During his time in prison, Lane continued to write and spread his ideologies, cementing the 14 words as a mantra among white supremacists. The meaning of number 88. The number 88 is a coded representation of HH, which stands for Heil Hitler. This is based on the position of the letter H as in the octave of the alphabet. The use of 88 as a neo-Nazi symbol began to gain popularity around the same time that 14 was widely adopted. This agreement was designed to allow extremists to share messages supporting Nazism discreetly, avoiding immediate detection by authorities or the general public. This reflects a common strategy among extremist groups, the use of symbols and codes to communicate ideologies without arousing suspicion. How the code 14 of 88 became popular. The combination 14 of 88 emerged when the two concepts were united to create a code that symbolizes neo-Nazi and white supremacist ideology comprehensively. This combination came to represent the preservation of the white race, that 14. Loyalty to Nazi ideology and Adolf Hitler, then 88. At first, the code was mainly used by small far-right groups in the United States. However, with the advent of the internet, 14 of 88 gained a global audience. Online forums, social networks, and closed groups created platforms for the dissemination of the code, allowing it to infiltrate new spaces and recruit new adherents. The ideological basis of 14/88. The two elements of the code reflect the foundations of white supremacist ideology. The white extinction threat. A conspiracy theory that claims that white populations are being exclusively outsourced by other races, a view known as the Great Replacement Theory. Neo-Nazism, the glorification of Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany as an ideal model of society. These ideas fuel fear, hatred, and racial division, justifying acts of violence against racial and religious minorities. Appropriation and modern context of the Code 14/88. The Code 1488 has transcended its origins in neo-Nazi circles and has become a highly recognized symbol among far-right and white supremacist groups around the world. In the modern context, its appropriation goes far beyond a simple expression of ideology. It is used as a communication, recruitment, and intimidation tool. In this section, we explore how 1488 is employed today and the strategies that make its use so dangerous and effective. How the Code 1488 is used today. Extremist groups use 1488 in various contexts to convey hateful messages in a coded manner. Some examples include tattoos. Many members of supremacist groups tattoo the Code 1488 on their bodies as a symbol of loyalty to the cause. These tattoos function as identity markers within organizations, allowing members to quickly identify themselves. Online. Extremist forums, social networks, and online communities use 1488s in usernames, email signatures, and messages. This allows supporters to share ideas discreetly, avoiding the moderation filters of some platforms. Marketing. The code appears on t-shirts, flags, stickers, and other items used to promote white supremacist ideology and generate revenue for these groups. Graffiti and vandalism. 1488 is often painted on walls, monuments, and buildings to mark territories or intimidate minority communities. The strategy behind the code. The appropriation of 1488 is not accidental. Extremist groups adopt seemingly harmless or poorly understood symbols to achieve strategic objectives. Avoid detection. Because it is coded, 1488 may go unnoticed by those who are not familiar with its meaning. This allows extremists to communicate their ideas without drawing attention from authorities or the public. Normalize hate speech. Using 1488 in public spaces and online creates a false sense of accessibility and normalcy for these ideologies, making them less shocking to those unfamiliar with the context. Recruitment and radicalization. Using the code on online platforms is an effective tool for attracting new members. Young people, especially, may be exposed to 1488 without fully understanding its meaning, which can lead to their gradual radicalization. Intimidation. 1488 functions as a hateful message directed at minorities, especially when it appears in public places. It communicates in a discreet but effective way that racist and neo-Nazi ideologies are present. Notable cases of the use of 1488. Hatred attacks. Many hate crimes contain the code as a signature, whether verbally, in online messages, or even graffiti at crime scenes. Public events. During demonstrations by extremist groups such as the Unite the Right March in Charlottesville, 2017, symbols such as 1488 were featured on flags and banners. Online culture. On platforms like 4chan and Telegram, 1488 is often used in memes and discussions to spread white supremacist ideology. The role of the internet in disseminating the code. With the globalization of the internet, 14/88 is no longer a symbol used mainly in the United States and Europe and is provided to other countries. Online platforms allow extremists to share content on a global scale, connecting like-minded people and increasing the reach of their message. Memes and toxic humor. The use of memes that incorporate 1488 makes the ideology more appealing to young people by presenting extremist ideas in a format that appears fun or harmless. Gated communities. On social media, the code is used as a password to access exclusive extremist communities, creating a sense of belonging among members. Narrative creation. Extremist forums promote narratives such as the threat to the white race, using 1488 as a central point to unite their followers. Reactions from authorities and organizations. As the use of 1488 became more widely known, governments, human rights organizations, and online platforms began to react. Content prohibition. Social networks such as Facebook and Twitter have banned the explicit use of 1488 in their terms of service, classifying it as hate speech. Government actions. Some countries, such as Germany, have strict laws prohibiting the use of Nazi symbols, including the 88. Education and awareness. Organizations such as the Anti-Defamation League (ADL) and the Southern Poverty Law Center (SPLC) have conducted guidance to help the public and law enforcement raise awareness and understand hate codes like 1488. Challenges in eradicating use. Despite efforts to reinforce the dissemination of 1488, several challenges remain. Adaptation of extremist groups. Extremists are constantly finding new ways to disguise their messages, creating variations of the code or using other symbols. Lack of awareness. Many people still do not understand the meaning of 1488, allowing it to go unnoticed in some contexts. Anonymous online. Anonymity on the internet makes it difficult to identify and hold accountable individuals who promote hateful ideologies. 1488 is more than a code, it's an ideological tool used to spread racism, recruit new members and intimidate minorities. In today's connected world, it has found new ways to spread, becoming a symbol of global hate. In the next part, we'll explore the social impacts and debates surrounding its use, as well as how communities around the world are responding to this threat. Current debate and social impact of the Code 1488. The Code 1488 represents more than a simple combination of numbers. It reflects cultural divisions, historical prejudices, and the ability of extremist ideologies to adapt to the modern world. In the current social and political context, its impact transcends the groups it operates, influencing debates on freedom of expression, public security, and the fight against extremism. In this section, we will explore the social impacts of 1488 and the debates surrounding its presence in the contemporary world. 1. Social impacts of the Code 1488. The spread of 1488 has profound effects on various areas of society, from creating fear and insecurity to strengthening extremist networks. Intimidation and fear. The use of 1488 in public places, such as graffiti in minority neighborhoods or tattoos displayed at protests, creates an intimidating environment. It sends a clear message that hateful ideologies are present, provoking anxiety and fear among targeted communities. Normalization of hate. Constantly repeating 1488 in seemingly casual contexts, such as memes or slogans, can desensitize people to its true meaning. This contributes to the normalization of hate speech, making it less shocking and therefore more acceptable in certain circles. Social fragmentation. Symbols like 1488 have exacerbated racial and cultural divisions, hampering dialogue and increasing polarization. Freedom of expression x hate speech. The debate surrounding 1488 often revolves around the issue of free speech. Some argue that restricting the use of the code violates fundamental rights, while others believe that the spread of hateful messages should not be protected as legitimate speech. Opposing viewpoints. Pro-freedom of expression. The numbers by themselves are not potentially dangerous. Restricting their use could set dangerous precedents for censoring other types of speech. Against hate speech. The context of the use of 1488 is undeniable. It is not just a number, it is a tool to promote racist and neo-Nazi ideologies that incite violence. This dilemma is particularly relevant in liberal democracies, where the protection of freedom of expression often collides with the need to combat extremism. The role of social media. Social networks play a central role in the spread of 1488, functioning as an event for its global spread. Amplifier platforms. Networks like 4chan, Telegram, and even Twitter have been used to popularize 1488 and connect it to other extremist messages. The viral nature of the internet allows code like this to reach millions of people quickly, creating transnational communities of extremists. Moderation efforts. Some platforms, such as Facebook and YouTube, have implemented policies to prohibit the use of 1488. However, moderation is challenging, especially when extremists use variations or disguised forms of the code. Impact on young audiences. The 1488 regulation on memes and seemingly harmless content is an effective tactic for attracting young people. Many teenagers are exposed to the code without understanding its meaning, becoming susceptible to gradual radicalization. Reactions from human rights organizations. Several organizations have dedicated themselves to raising public awareness about the meaning of 1488 and the fight. Anti-Defamation League, ADL. The ADL maintains a database of hate symbols, including 1488s, to help people consider and report their use. The organization also offers training for educators and police officers, enabling them to identify and deal with hate speech. Southern Poverty Law Center, SPLC. The SPLC monitors extremist groups and publishes detailed reports on how 1488 is used to recruit new members and spread hate. Educational initiatives. School programs and public campaigns have focused on educating young people about the history and impact of symbols like 1488, emphasizing the importance of combating them. Public debate and notable examples. The 1488 code gained international attention due to public incidents that highlighted its use and impact. Protest events. During far-right protests in the United States and Europe, symbols such as 1488 are frequently displayed, drawing media attention and increasing public awareness of their meaning. Legal actions. Some countries, such as Germany, explicitly prohibit the use of Nazi symbols, including 88. This has led to arrests and fines for those who display the code publicly. Viral cases. In 2020, a video of a football player sporting a 1488 tattoo during a match sparked outrage on social media and calls for severe demands. Education as a response. One of the most effective ways to combat the impact of 1488 is through education. This includes community awareness. Informing public communities about the meanings and dangers of symbols like 1488 can help prevent bullying and promote resilience. School education. Including lessons about extremism, symbolism, and the impact of hate speech in school curricula can prepare young people to reflect and resist dangerous messages. Open dialogue. Promoting conversations about the importance of context and the meaning of symbols helps create a more critical and aware society. Conclusion of the part. The social impact of 1488s goes far beyond the extremist circles that use it. It affects communities, fuels divisions, and challenges democratic values. Recognizing and understanding this code is essential to combat its spread and mitigate the damage it causes. In the next and final part, we will discuss historical lessons and reflections on what 14 of 88 teaches us about the importance of resistance to hateful ideologies. Historical lessons and reflections on the Code 14 of 88. The Code 1488 is not just a symbol of extremist ideology, it is a reflection of broader issues involving the power of symbols, cultural manipulation, and the impact of hate speech. By understanding historical lessons and reflecting on the persistence of codes like this, we can extract important lessons to combat intolerance and promote a more conscious and inclusive society. 1. History repeats itself. The use of codes in extremist movements. History shows that the use of symbols and codes is not exclusive to 14/88. Extremist groups of all eras have used coded languages to disseminate their ideas. Historical examples. During the Nazi regime, a swastika and slogans such as blood and soil were used to consolidate racist ideologies. In the era of the Ku Klux Klan, symbols like burning crosses served as tools of intimidation and identity. These examples show how symbols can be used to normalize hateful ideologies and create a sense of belonging among adherents. Lesson. Understanding the history of the use of extremist codes helps us consider patterns and react more quickly to the spread of new symbols. The power of context. Recognize and educate. A crucial lesson from 1488s is the importance of context in interpreting symbols. Without context, a code may seem harmless, but its true intent can be devastating. Why is context important? 88, for example, could be interpreted as any number by anyone who does not know its meaning associated with Nazism. A lack of understanding allows extremists to use the code in public without being questioned, discreetly perpetuating their hateful messages. Lesson. Educating the public about the meaning of symbols is essential to dismantling their effectiveness as tools of hate. Technology and symbol amplification. The internet has changed the way extremist ideologies are spread. While in the past symbols like 1488 were restricted to isolated groups, today they can reach millions of people instantly. The role of online platforms. Extremist forums and social networks act as megaphones to spread codes and recruit new members. The viralization of memes and seemingly innocent content facilitates the normalization of hateful messages. Lesson. It is necessary to demand greater responsibility from digital platforms to identify and combat the spread of hate codes. Resistance and resignification. Although 1488 is widely recognized as a hate symbol, other communities throughout history have managed to reframe symbols used against them. Example. The word queer, previously used as an insult, was redefined by the LGBTQIA+ community as a term of empowerment. Lesson. While 1488 has a meaning deeply associated with extremism, actively combating its use and promoting alternative messages can weaken its influence. Education as the greatest weapon against hate. The spread of ideologies like those represented by 1488 is fueled by ignorance and misinformation. Education is, therefore, one of the most powerful tools to face them. What can be done? Include the history of extremism in school curricula. Teach about the dangers of hateful ideologies and how they use symbols to manipulate. Public awareness campaigns. Clarify the meaning of codes such as 1488 to prevent their inadvertent spread. Training for professionals. Empower police officers, educators, and community leaders to recognize and combat hateful messages. Lesson. An educated society is less susceptible to manipulation and more capable of confronting the roots of extremism. The importance of collective action. Combating hate symbols like 1488 requires a collective effort between governments, human rights organizations, digital platforms, and citizens. Examples of successful collective action. Germany, with its specific laws against Nazi symbols, has managed to significantly reduce the public display of extremist ideologies. Organizations like the Anti-Defamation League work to educate the public and pressure companies to take action against the spread of hate online. Lesson. When governments, organizations, and citizens work together, it is possible to limit the reach and impact of hateful ideologies. The importance of continuous surveillance. Even with preventive measures, extremists continue to find new ways to spread their ideas. This requires continuous vigilance and a willingness to adapt strategies to meet new challenges. Example. When 1488 began to become widely recognized, extremists began to use variations, such as different number transfers or coded phrases. Lesson. Combating hate is an ongoing effort that requires flexibility and innovation. 1488 is a powerful example of how extremist ideologies can infiltrate society using seemingly simple symbols. He reminds us that hate often hides in plain sight, and that it is up to us to expose it through education, awareness, and collective action. In the fight against hate symbols like 1488, knowledge is our most effective weapon. The more we understand their history and impact, the better prepared we will be to dismantle the ideologies they represent. Final summary. In this video we explore the history, modern usage, social impacts, and lessons 14 of 88 teaches us about the power of symbols. Now it's your turn to act. Share this video to help spread knowledge and combat hate.